Hello everyone, this is Rishu from India, and today I'm going to answer the meanest questions that have been asked by the foreigners. Since I'm from India, so I get to ask a lot of questions from different foreigners from different countries out of curiosity. So I've actually selected 10 meanest questions about India, and I'm going to answer them quickly, and I'm going to read the question, I'm going to answer them frankly and honestly without any script. So we start all the questions, but before we start this video, I'm going to ask you a question about India. The question is, what is the official language of India? So I'm going to answer this question at the end of this video. So let's get started with all the questions. Okay, this question is pretty common, right? Indian do have this kind of head shake. They do it like this, which is actually happening unknowingly, and they don't know if they're doing that. Maybe as an Indian, I also do that sometimes, but I don't realize it. But maybe I don't do it a lot because basically I've traveled to many countries, and usually I avoid doing that. I'm really conscious about what I'm doing, but maybe I might do it unknowingly sometimes. But yeah, most of the Indians have this kind of habit of shaking head like this, which actually means to agree. If you are in agreement with someone, you actually head shake like this, which would be pretty weird because usually if you agree, you need to do like this, like any normal person. But usually Indian have this head shake, which means agreement. So it could mean many things. For example, if I agree with you, I would say like this, and it means agreement. Also, in different contexts, it might also mean that you are in a state of confusion or you don't really understand something. For example, if I ask you that, do you know what is that? And you said like this, which means like you're kind of confused. You don't know exactly the question. So this head shake is pretty common in India. A lot of people might be doing that unknowingly. Also, a lot of people also do this this sound right? So for example, if they agree with you or if they're listening to you, so they do which is a common sound as well that a lot of Indian people make while talking to someone. Okay, this is another question, that why do Indian honk a lot? So when they're driving a car or riding a bike, they honk a lot. Okay, this is pretty common in India. The reason for that, because if you know, India is one of the populated countries in the world, right? There's a lot of population, there are a lot of people in the street and in the trains and buses. So whenever somebody is driving, it's a thing for them that they have to honk so that they can actually make people aware outside them that somebody is driving. Especially in some small places and small cities or towns, there are some narrow streets. So because of that, there are so many turns and twists when you are riding a bike or driving a car. So whenever there's a turn or twist, you basically have to honk so that you can actually make people aware that okay, somebody is coming through your way. And if somebody like pedestrian, if somebody is walking, he might understand, okay, there is a vehicle coming towards me. So actually this is a pretty common thing, that if you honk, you actually making person aware that somebody is driving. And I think this is not bad at all. I mean, this is pretty common, and I think if you honking, you actually making that person know that okay, I'm driving, be careful, be attentive. Indians eat curry every day. I wouldn't say every day, but I would say at least once a day, or like one meal a day, or sometimes every other day. It depends upon the individual person. Sometimes in some families they cook curry every day, but it's not just about curry. There are a lot of things apart from curry. For example, vegetables and beans and different types of pulses and all. So we have actually different kinds of things. And also in India, if you know, there are also a lot of meat eaters, right? So a lot of people eat meat as well. There's a misconception that in India people don't eat meat, but majority of the people actually are meat eaters. But yeah, most of the people in the daily life eat vegetables and beans. But yeah, curry, as if we talk about curry, basically the food we prepare is in the form of curry. It means it's kind of watery food, right? So that's why it seems like curry, which is actually not curry. For example, if we prepare some beans, now it is into some kind of liquid form. It looks like curry, but it is not curry actually. It is beans. So this is how we prepare beans. So that's why people think that everything we eat is curry. Yes, there are many cows in the street, and not just cows. There are many street animals or stray animals in the street. For example, dogs and monkeys and donkeys and cows, buffaloes. Yes, because if you know, in India, there are a lot of people. Similarly, there are a lot of animals as well, right? The population includes animals as well. So that's why you might see some stray animals in the street because they don't have any owners, and that's pretty common. But yeah, you won't see many animals in big cities. Basically, you see animals in small cities and small town, but in big city you won't see a lot of animals. So yeah, in downtown area you won't see even a single animal, but yeah, in some cities people might see some animals. Also, people believe that cow is a sacred animal, which is kind of true, and people think that usually people don't eat cows, especially Hindu people. So there are different religions, right? Hindu people don't eat cow, which is kind of true. They don't eat because of belief, but it is not as per the religious law. In many states and in many parts of the country, people still eat cow meat, which is pretty common. But yeah, some people believe that cow is a sacred animal and they shouldn't be killing it or eating it. So yeah, a lot of people don't eat, but it's just not about Hindus. Also, in different religions, for example, say Muslims, in Islam, people don't eat pork. It's because of their religious law and religious belief, right? So there are different rules as per the religion, but everyone is free to eat anything. And of course, you can see a lot of animals in the street as well. India is unsafe for women. It used to be, but if you know that India has developed a lot, and of course, India itself is a big country. It means there are different states and there are so many cities. So basically, all the big cities are pretty safe for women. And actually, if you go to main cities such as Mumbai and Chennai, you might see a lot of women, a lot of people actually going out at midnight without any trouble. So of course, it's pretty safe. But yeah, I would say there are some parts in India which is not pretty common for tourists to visit. But yeah, sometimes it might be unsafe a bit, which actually not a big thing because I think every country at some point is unsafe, right? I mean, you can't say that some country is totally safe. Yeah, of course, India's a little bit unsafe, but I'm talking about some parts. For example, New Delhi. New Delhi is the capital of India, and it is believed that in some parts in New Delhi are not really safe, especially at midnight, of course, and for women. Of course, nothing will happen if you go outside at night, but yes, for women, you might see they might be teased by some people, but it happens quite rarely. It's not so common. So, of course, people believe that India is pretty unsafe, which is not at all true. Actually, this is because of the old Western media that plays an important role. They portray India as an unsafe country. There are a lot of countries like that, and I mean, there are a lot of things happening in many countries. But yeah, I would say media plays an important role. And but yeah, if you are a tourist, you want to visit India, I would say India is totally unsafe. But yeah, you have to take some measures, especially if you are a woman, right? If you're traveling at midnight, of course, you have to take measures if you are in certain parts of the country. But overall, India is totally safe. Yes, India has a lot of poverty, of course, and India is a little dirty as well. Of course, if you know, India is one of the most developing, faster developing countries in the world, right? India is still developing. So, like any other developing countries, if you talk about any developing country, of course, they have this problem or issue of poverty. And when there's poverty, you might see uh, the dirtiness as well, like for example some trash on the road. But of course, I'm not talking about big cities and main city. If you go to any big city or popular cities in India, they're pretty clean, really nice, developed. But yeah, there are really some rural areas and urban areas that have not been developed yet. And in those areas, in those part of country, you might see some trash in the street, and some people living in small houses. We call it ghettos and chores. Actually, we call it chores, which is actually ghettos, right? So some small places, ghettos, and you might see those places a little bit dirty. But of course, it has been eradicated gradually, and because India is developing, you might not see many dirty places and poverty. But yeah, there are still some underdeveloped places because India is quite a big country. Trains. So if you know that transportation is a big thing in India, of course, because there are a lot of people who are traveling on a daily basis. For that, they need to use a transportation. So trains, buses, taxis are the major means of transportations for people. So yeah, during rush hours, for example, in the morning when people go to work, and during the evening when people come back to their home, yes, then you might see a lot of trains and buses. They're too much crowded with people. They're exactly jam-packed with people, which is common actually, because especially in big cities like say New Delhi and Mumbai, trains are pretty crowded. But yeah, you might have also seen some pictures and videos of people sitting on the top of the train, which is not so common nowadays. It used to be common before, but now it's not so common. So maybe people might be watching some old videos, people sitting on the top of the train, and they might question that, oh, why are people like that? Why are they sitting on the top? Which is not so common. Yeah, but you might see people hanging on the doorstep of the train because too much crowded, and they're basically so close to each other. So sometimes to get some space in the train, you know, they kind of hang on the train on the doorstep, or they holding the handle of the train, handle of the door. So, which is common. Yeah, crowded trains are pretty common, but you won't see people sitting on the top of the train nowadays, which is a kind of old concept. A lot of people talk about Indian accent, and they think the Indian accent is funny and it's weird, which is actually true. So basically, when we say Indian accent, there's no typical Indian accent because it depends upon which part you belong to. For example, in southern part, people in south have different accent, and people in north have different accent. So yeah, Indian accent is difficult to understand, but it's not so difficult as people think. Maybe a lot of people from Western countries or from other Asian countries, they're not used to listening to Indian accents. So that's why when they listen to an Indian person for the first time, they might find it weird, they might find it difficult to understand. But uh, in actual, Indian accent is not so difficult compared to the accents in different parts of different countries. For example, in the UK, Scotland, right, Ireland, and some Asian countries, China, Japan, I think those accents are pretty difficult for people. So, for example, Indian person might find it difficult to understand a person from different country because we're not used to listening to them. So it's all about familiarity with the accent, not about this kind of weirdness of the accent. So, of course, if you have a friend, if you've been talking to Indian people for a long time, you might not find it difficult. But also, if you think it's difficult, you need to talk with an Indian person for some time, and then you might see that it's not so difficult. If you look at some Indian news channel, you see they speak quite clearly, so it's not so difficult. Maybe some people, for example, some people working in IT companies and working abroad, and they have that typical Indian accent, which is pretty unfamiliar to a lot of people, so they might find it difficult when they hear it for the first time. So if you want to know about Indian accent, actually you can check the link here as well. You can actually understand and learn about how Indian people speak and how Indian accent is. You can click on that link as well. Arranged marriage, yes, it's common nowadays. So if you know, majority of the people have arranged marriage. But now the culture is changing, right? And everyone is changing, and you might see a lot of love marriages as well. So people do love marriages as well. But yeah, arranged marriages are pretty much dominant, I would say, even now. So yes, one of the reasons for arranged marriages is that in India, if you know, the people are a little conservative and shy. Some people, of course, and they don't have any girlfriend, even though many people in their whole life don't make any girlfriend or boyfriend. And because of that, if they don't have any partner, it's quite difficult to find a partner for them. So that's why their families come into role or come into place, and then they actually arranged boys and girl and have a kind of meeting. They set a meeting with their families, and if they like each other, they can get married. So there's a misconception that, okay, arranged marriage means forced marriage, that your parents force you to get married to a stranger, which is not true. Arranged marriage means a marriage which is arranged by family, and if you like your partner, you can agree to marry, and if you don't like, just leave that, right? So it's not about forced marriage, it's arranged marriage. Basically, when you don't have a partner, you meet a boy or a girl and get to know each other, and if you like them, you can get married. Caste system, whenever we talk about caste system, we talk about India, because people believe that there is a caste system in India, which is kind of true. But basically, caste system is not so dominant nowadays. It used to be in our history. If you talk about history of India, yeah, there used to be caste system. But nowadays, people don't really talk about caste system. And caste system is still in place, not because there's discrimination, but there are a lot of benefits that have been provided by the government to the people of lower castes in the field of education, in the field of jobs and all. So all those people who are underprivileged, they get a lot of benefits, and that's why caste system comes in place. But there's no discrimination on the basis of caste system. Yes, there's a little bit of discrimination in some parts, but you won't see people really care about caste system anymore. But caste system, I mean, it's a part of any country. For example, in the UK, there's a pretty big caste system. They call it classes, right? Class system. Basically, they have different classes for example, upper class, medium class, and precariat and working class. So basically, every country have caste system. They just call it class. In India, we call it caste. And of course, if you know, in India is known for its diversity, so there are not many castes, but also many religions, races, ethnicities, a lot of people from different background. So I think India is one of the most diverse countries in the world, and I think everyone is so accepting and welcoming towards all the people coming from different parts of the world. I hope you found this video quite useful and informative. And like any other developing country, India is also not perfect, and India also has some flaws, but we should always look at the positive aspects rather than negative. Alright, and I asked a question at the start of this video, that was the official language of India. So there are basically two official languages of India, Hindi and followed by English, right? So majority of the people speak Hindi as one of the official languages, which is followed by English. And there are also many regional languages depending upon different states and different parts. India basically has no national language. So, thank you and goodbye. See you next time.